All right, I'm ready whenever you're ready. Welcome back to Funky Politics, the hardest hitting political show on the planet. That's right, that's right, that's right. I am DC, your host of Funky Politics. I tell you what, you are in for a treat on today. Man, we got a powerhouse show today. Every once in a while, I just got to bring these brothers in that's going to lay it down, lay it flat. We're going to flatten the curve. We're going to talk a little thing about education. We're going to talk about this COVID-19 piece, how it's affecting our students and our returning students, as a matter of fact, not only on the secondary level, also on the collegiate level. And also going to talk a little bit of Black Lives Matter, right? But before I do that, I want to get into a couple of things. I want to talk about the curve flattening. So if the curve is flattening in your community, if you are not one of those communities that the numbers are spiking upward, and then bless you, because there's a lot of communities right now where those numbers are shooting up, including my own community here in Memphis and Shelby County. It's looking pretty bad, but I will say this. It looks like the major districts, I know LA, the district in LA, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, they've all said that they will not be doing in-person education for children. So it's a decision you have to make. And it's a decision that you as a parent make alone, right? Looking at the data, looking at what it looks like for you and your family, and how your child is going to be protected. But make sure you talk to your teachers, you talk to your administrators. It's going to be very difficult. And I was talking to a teacher at my parish the other day, and we were talking about how these kids are learning right now with this distance learning piece. And she said it's going to be difficult to get young kids who are pre-K to third grade to get them on a strong track without them being in the classroom. So that's something to think about. But anyway, hey, moving right along. Tate Reeves, Mississippi Governor, Greg Abbott, Texas Governor, along with Governor Newsom out of California, they've essentially hit the emergency brakes. They said no more, no mas. We have got to slow the spread. The numbers are spiking. They are absolutely spiking. But I will say this, that those red states that open up pretty quickly, namely Georgia with Governor Kemp down there, and also our favorite governor, the governor of the state of Florida, DeSantis, they've essentially adopted the White House talking points. Well, we're looking at this from a data-driven point of view, and it doesn't look like our severe hospitalizations are that high to where we cannot continue to open up the economies. Let me say this to you. Be very smart. And I was just recently in Florida. I will say we practiced social distancing. We wore our masks. We washed our hands constantly. We were in our vacation home too, by the way, i.e. Darwin Henderson will tell you that. So we didn't do a whole lot of traveling outside of home, but we had to get away. But it was a nice piece to see those palm trees. But I will say this, stay safe, folks. We've got to have you around for some time to come. Also, talking about the MAGA people. No, I didn't say MAGA, I said MAGA folks. Making America Great, folks. You know, the diversity in our country is so great that when you have one group pulling against the entire bandwagon, the entire wagon, it makes it very difficult for us to get along. I want to make sure that we encourage everybody. I know the masks are difficult to wear on a daily basis, especially if you're like me, you don't work in healthcare. But I will say this, you got to wear your damn mask, folks. It's not a constitutional issue. It's not somebody depriving you of your rights. You got to wear your mask. If you wear your mask, the life you save, if it's not yours, it may be mine, or maybe someone else, or maybe a loved one of yours, right? Wear your damn mask, wash your hands, do what you got to do. Speaking of having a powerhouse in the studio with us today, Brother Robert Jackson, who's principal of Robert Jackson Consultants, an educational guru is what this young brother is. When I tell you the brother played NFL ball, and once completing his tenure with the NFL team, he went back into the classroom. He put the work in. He's putting the work in today. He's an author. The brother's a motivational speaker. In just a second, I'm going to come back from the break. We're going to bring back to you Robert Jackson. Don't go anywhere.
Hello and welcome to R&R on Sports. We are pleased to have with us today Mike Wallace, who is the Grind City Media Senior Editor. Mike, welcome to R&R on Sports.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, man. And I hope you guys are safe and pushing through this, man. Thanks a lot. It's been far too long. I'm glad we're finally able to do this.
Absolutely. But Howard, you got to put some respect on this brother's name. Now, he used to do the heat index for the Miami Heat. This brother went to the championship 4 times in a row. Now, he wasn't on the court actually before the game and after the game, but he went to the championship 4 times in a row with the Miami Heat. What's up, my brother Mike?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Kadzukian. Check out all your Kadzukian favorites now. Download the Kadzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
Hey, as I promised, guess what I got, folks? I got my guy. I got Robert Jackson of Robert Jackson Consulting with us today. Let me tell you something. It is phenomenal to have you in the studio, brother. Welcome to Funky Politics, my man. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Hey, man, I want to get right into this thing, Robert. We don't have time to waste, man. We got lives to save. We got some young cats out here, man, on those streets. Man, tell us a little bit about your journey, man. I mean, you played NFL ball, and all of a sudden, now, 25 years in the classroom. So how did we get there, Doc? How did we get there?
Well, NFL, first of all, NFL stands for not for long. So I thought I was going to be playing for 10 years. I ended up playing for 10 minutes. Signed and thought I had a promising career, fractured my kneecap, and, it didn't work out for me. So promising career in the NFL turned into a promising career in education. I started in education 25 years ago in the classroom. I saw many kids who were broken, coming from trauma, coming from some bad situations, and I watched the interaction that educators had with students. I didn't like the way they interacted with our kids, how they treated them, especially our Black and Hispanic males who were suspended the most from school. Last year alone, 1.2 million were suspended from school. And the school to prison pipeline, I saw it right before my eyes. So I decided, instead of talking about it, I need to do something about it. So I give presentations around the country now and in other countries, professional development on cultural diversity, implicit bias, restorative practices, social-emotional learning, how to educate Black and brown males, so on and so forth. So I work with administrators, superintendents, school leaders, teachers, parents, students, and trying to bridge this gap. So that's how I got here today. 6 books later, working in education. You want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Wow. He won't do it, Doc. He'll change them. The best way-laid plans are often changed, aren't they?
Yeah, my plan was to play football and then retire and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, no, I don't think so. I want you to go this route. So, it's been a blessing.
I want to go back to that piece where you talked about how you had the best plan in the world. You're going to play major NFL ball. I mean, you were going to be out there, man, for years. So, and we often hear this thing of one and done, or, man, this guy's got the talent. He needs to go ahead and exercise his talent. Robert, what do you say to those young brothers out there like yourself who just so happens to have had an injury, but you finish school, but those brothers who don't finish the process and get an injury, then where are they? And it's a career-ending injury. How do you counsel those guys? How do you motivate those brothers? Hey, man, look, it's not over. Your life is just beginning. You're going to be okay. How do you do that, man?
Well, the life expectancy, what I would tell these young brothers, and I do it all the time, even when I'm speaking in NFL settings, I'm a part of the NFL Players Association, and I tell these young brothers all the time, your life expectancy of playing in the National Football League is 3 years or less. So by the time you're done playing, you're 24, you're 25, you're 26. You still got a whole life ahead of you, and you got to have a backup plan. I tell them all the time, get your degree. Yeah. They use you to run up and down the football field. You use them to get an education. And it's a give and take. I told my college coach, I played for Jack Harbaugh, his sons, Jim and John, coaching at Michigan and Baltimore. And I told my coach when I was a freshman, I said, you're going to use me to run up and down the football field, and I'm going to use you to get an education. And I made my mom a promise that I wasn't leaving school without my degree. So I'm thankful that I got my degree, and that's why I'm able to do what I do today. But I would tell these young brothers, have a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah. Well, speaking of a plan that we don't have, COVID-19, and
right.
We're going to jump all over the place, man, because you're deep enough, brother. We're going to hit it and miss them. I know you got to get out of here, so I'm going to get as much in as I possibly can. But let me ask you this. COVID-19 has really presented, so many different variations of what life used to be. Now this thing is completely different. How do parents who are struggling already? They're struggling already. It's just not inner city parents. You got middle class parents that are struggling now. What do I do with a kid who I'm not used to seeing 8 hours a day? Now I've got to figure out, how do I do this? How do you encourage them and to reassure those youngsters that we're in tragic times, y'all, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. What do you
I
say?
I remind parents all the time. I'm a father. I'm the father of three, right?
Oh,
so I'm the father of three. So I'm gonna tell you, I love my kids and they are my children, right? So we have to remind people that these kids belong to us. So parents, these kids didn't ask to be here. They didn't choose to be here. They here. And we have to make adjustments. Now, my sister's had COVID-19 twice. So it's hit my family personally. It's hit a lot of families. She's had it twice. She works in the medical field. So she had it once and she overcame it. She went back to work, caught it again. So it's a deadly disease. And I would tell parents that everybody is doing the best they can. We have to be able to adjust. I'm a national speaker, international speaker. I'm doing virtual presentations because now I'm doing virtual presentations because I can't go in person. So that doesn't mean I'm just going to stop. So we have to find ways to adjust. I would ask parents to have advocates with other parents, and you have other parents who are dealing with what you're dealing with, lean on them. And maybe you can do days where your kid come to my house one day, I do it Tuesday and Thursday, you do it on Monday and Wednesday. But we have to think safety first. And listening to some of the supposedly leaders in this country, it doesn't sound like they putting safety first. It sounds like they putting the cash first. And we need to make sure that we're keeping our kids safe. But parents, these are your children. And, I've been an educator for 25 years, and our job is to educate, activate, and motivate all kids to be successes. But the number one teacher for a student is not the teacher in the school or the principal, it's the parent. And we need to start stepping up and doing our job and leading by example.
And you said a mouthful. I'm going to stay right there because I want to go from the parent. I want to go to the classroom. Let's talk about implicit bias. I'm 53, so I've been in a large district in the city of Memphis, and I've been around a little bit. And I was a part of what I think was implicit bias by an instructor I had when I was in the 5th grade.
Sure.
So talk to us about how we have had generations of young brothers and some young sisters because they acted out in class or they said something that the teacher thought was inappropriate at that time, how they have now been singularly put aside and they may be the ones who are incarcerated or on the streets. Tell me how do we get past that, man? How do we get over that now? I mean, they say you need to get over slavery, but man, there's brothers I know that could have been whatever, but they got suspended. They out, they're done. And when they got expelled, they were done. No more school.
Well, I would tell you that hereditary loads the gun, but environment pulls the trigger. Wow. And I'm gonna run that back by. I said hereditary loads the gun, but environment pulls the trigger. We can't help how we grew up. Many of us grew up in some tough circumstances. I never met my biological father. I grew up in the inner city of Indianapolis, even though I live in Atlanta, Georgia now. But we can't help our circumstances. And when I'm working with educators, I break down how men think and what we've gone through growing up, especially men of color in this country. And we've already been traumatized over and over and over again. It didn't take George Floyd being murdered on national TV, and I did say murdered, for me to understand the how we've been traumatized as Black men. We've been microaggressed. We've been dehumanized. And then we get into a school system where if I sneeze the wrong way, I get kicked out of school to fill that school to prison pipeline. We have got to stop kicking our kids out. If we're going to change the narrative, we got to get out of our feelings and stop taking it personal. If I'm coming in with hard skills like anger, rage, disappointment, neglect, you got to teach me soft skills, respect, honesty, empathy. You got to replace that. And what's happening in the school system, what I'm witnessing, we have kids coming in with hard skills. We have educators coming in with hard skills. Fire cannot put out fire. Only water can do that. And we have to start looking at it differently. Now, I don't need educators feeling sorry for me, because when you feel sorry for me, you lower your expectations. I need you to set high expectations for me, but more importantly, I need you to expect me to do well. So educators have to understand the culture a little bit better so they can educate me in the way I need to be educated. So instead of calling me aggressive and saying I'm out of control, why can't I be passionate? You know, like right now, we're being passionate. We're talking about a subject matter that's important to both of us. Why can't we be passionate without being called aggressive, without being called out of control and all these other things? And we have to be culturally aware of each other in order to make changes.
You know, we're talking about generations of young Black men and women who have been marginalized over the years. But now, even some of those folks who were put out of school are having children now, and that vicious cycle continues. That parent who was put out, who was expelled and didn't finish, Robert, they don't value education, but now we need them to be a part of the process as a value-added person in a district, speaking to superintendents. How do you get those parents who were disaffected, who were affected by this implicit bias in the day, excited about trying to get a kid to graduate high school and go to college, Doc? I mean,
healing needs to take place. You know, healing needs to take place, especially in our community. And healing needs to take place, man. We can't keep regurgitating things that we can't change. We can't go back and change anything, but I can do all things. You understand that? I can't go back and change what happened in the past, but I can do all things today. And we got to get out of our feelings too. And I'm not forgetting about the past. We've gone through some bad situations in the past, and it's still affecting us today systemically. But I cannot affect systemic change by getting in my feelings. I got to get out here and do something about it. I'm getting in front of these folks who are making decisions and trying to change these policies. And that's how we do it. We have to change these policies. We got to change the way that they're working and dealing with our kids. And we have to do it with the same passion that you go into a concert to pay $100 to hear somebody. You know, why can't you come and support your child in the school system? And I challenge administrators, I challenge superintendents and school officials to have a session where you can train parents. Parents are intimidated. They don't know how to use these computers. They don't know how to help. And if we're going to be parenting and teaching from home, we have to train them on what they need to do. We need to have a training session, like a Zoom meeting with these parents, so they can ask questions and get those questions answered. When you feel comfortable about doing certain things, it cuts down on the anxiety.
Let's stay right there. The technology now in some of the districts, especially in the South, that should have been implemented, say, 10 years ago. Now, Robert, they are trying to implement it now. And so now I'm going to give your kid a laptop and a hotspot. And that's what we're doing in our district now. And God bless them for number one, the Board of Education. Who said,
you're in Memphis?
It's got to be done. Yeah, in Memphis.
Is that Dr. George Ray?
Yeah, right. Good news.
Yeah, good news. Yeah,
good news, by the way. And but they have decided to take that step to put laptops or ThinkPads and hotspots in these children's hands. So you're saying that the next move now, when we get that to the kid, we need to have a training session for parents, because believe it or not, most kids know something about this computer, but most of us adults,
sure,
are a little challenged. Now we know the phone, and we don't realize that the phone is just like the computer.
Yes,
like a laptop.
Yes.
Are you suggesting that an elongated training session with those parents will help?
Well, I think we need some training, because parents should know what their kids are doing. And I'm not going to know what my child is doing unless I'm trained on it. And, you know, it don't take long to train on it, but you're not going to just give my kid a laptop and give him a hotspot without me knowing what's going on, because that can cause a whole nother set of issues with the internet and with social media and all these other things that go along with that. So as a parent, I would like to know exactly what my kid is learning. And all parents should question, especially if I'm going to be educating from home, I'm homeschooling my son or daughter. I want to know exactly what I'm doing. I want to know how to use the system, how to navigate through the system. All those things are extremely important. So we have to make sure as parents that we ask those critical questions. And as school officials, we offer our parents, look, we're going to have a training session at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. Here's the Zoom link, and you can ask any questions that you have. I think it just brings down some of the anxiety on the homeschooling. And listen, these are your children. You had them, you raised them, and now you see what educators go through every day with your kids.
I hear that all the time. They say, "Hey, look, man, I got your kid for 8 hours. Can you come back and get them at some point?" Right?
I'm laughing. I'm hearing parents who can't handle their own kids, but they cussing out educators because they can't handle their kids. So, you know, you can't handle your own children.
I saw a meme on Facebook. Lady put on there. She says, "So when do I get break time now?" She said, "So when do I get my learning period? Because this kid is driving me nuts." You know,
hilarious.
I want to segue. I want to talk a little bit about Black Lives Matter and in the movement. I think right now that the national talking heads, one of my senators, Marsha Blackburn, and I think she's been trying to dog whistle the movement in and of itself by saying that, well, you know, Black Lives Matter, it's a Marxist organization. We're not talking about the organization.
Right.
We're talking about the movement. We're talking about the movement. And when you talk about that, you have to talk about this word. I was listening to NPR the other day, and they were talking about anti-racist education. So, and I know I'm not that old, but why do we have to teach anti-racist education in our schools, and the educators have to be trained on this? You know, you mean we have educators in our districts around the country who are racist, are closet racist? Is that what we're saying?
Well,
I know we got some police. Well, you know, I guess if you got the police, I guess hell, you can have the teachers too, right?
Right. You know, it's really interesting, man, because you know, we all know that racism, discrimination, and cultural barriers exist in this country. We know invisibilization exists. We know that Black men are pre-criminalized. We know that we're marginalized when it comes to certain status and positions. We know all of these systems are in place. It takes an incident to happen on national TV for you to start putting that into place. I don't understand that. I think a lot of it is smoke screens, and they hoping it's just like something that's going to blow over like this virus. But no, this is real life. This is something that needs to take place every day. It should have been taking place, and it shouldn't take now. We should be teaching the right kind of Black history in school. And many times our schools are not teaching with the proper textbooks, and they're not talking about history as they should. That's why I appreciate Dr. Freeman and Dr. Milton, who come out with a new African-American history book that they're going to put into the schools around the country. And you know what? It's telling the real history. We didn't start in slavery. If somebody else say that, I'm just going to jump out of my seat. Yeah. Our history did not start in slavery. Our history started long before we were enslaved in this country. And I believe that there does need to be some measures in place at these schools where you can talk about racism, because it does exist. But you saying closet racist earlier. Well, with I'm gonna call them 45 or Agent Orange or whatever you want to call them. But with 45. With 45 in here, I mean, a lot of these folks are coming to the surface. You have this young man almost got lynched in Bloomington, Indiana.
Right down the street.
You know, where our chapter was founded at IU. So you got a man that's out here hanging out, and you get a group of men grab him and try to hang him, and nobody got arrested. So until these perpetrators are prosecuted, all this mess is going to continue to happen. But I will tell you this: they better be glad that we're not seeking revenge. Because right now we just want to be treated with some respect. And now if we were seeking revenge, it'd be a whole nother conversation. You know what I mean? Now, but I will tell you this: we're tired of being mistreated. We're tired of being marginalized and pre-criminalized. I think about Khalif Browder, and I get angry about that every day. And I think about Trayvon, and I think about Michael Brown and Sandra Bland and Breonna Taylor and Tamir Rice. And I think about all these people, these senseless killings, and folks walking away like nothing happened, saying Sandra Bland committed suicide. I don't believe that. You know, so we need to start stepping up, speaking out, and speaking often.
You know what? I was about to ask you about this quote that you got out there, the mantra, for every problem, there's a solution. But I think you just unpacked the problem, and I just think you explained the solution.
Right.
I think that's what you just did.
It is. And there is a solution for everything. And we understand what the solution is. We need to stop running from the truth. And we need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
No,
get out of your safe space and go into a brave space. And when it comes to talking about race, a lot of people get uncomfortable. Well, you're not uncomfortable when you're in the closet calling people names, or when you're around your friends with these racist jokes. You're not uncomfortable then. So why are you uncomfortable when you're sitting across from me and talking to me? Why are you uncomfortable then? You know, you're talking to me. That's the only way you're going to get to know somebody. Oh, you've been watching the news. Oh, my bad. You've been watching the news every day. So you believe in what you believe in the news. Well, if you want to have the facts, only 2% of black males commit violent crimes. That means the other 98% trying to make it home. I said 2%. Yeah, black on black crime is real. 90% of black people kill black people. But white on white crime is real too. 85% of whites kill whites. And 87% of Hispanics kill Hispanics. What I will tell you emphatically is that poor people are killing people. In all inner cities and all neighborhoods. You can't just put it on one race. But there's a stigma put on black crime. That's all you hear about.
Before we get out of here, and I got to get you out of here, I want to talk about becoming the educator they need, strategies, mindsets, and beliefs for supporting Black male and Latino students. Man, talk about the book. Talk about the book. Let our listeners and our viewers know where they can go get the book. You got new projects going on. I mean, you got any new collaborations out there. Doc, we got to stay with you because we need you in the game. We need, because this thing has got to have many soldiers. You already know that. This thing's got to have many soldiers. I wrote
this book because I wanted to be a voice for those who don't have a voice. Because my friend Carlos Jefferson, he don't have a voice. He's gone. Michael Butler's gone. Andrew Triplett, Earl Session, Billy Williams, Anthony Day, Tony Binion, Larry Shotwell. I can keep on going on. See, they don't have a voice, but I got to speak up for them because nobody's here to speak up for them. So this book and becoming the educator they need, I teach educators, how can you become the educator that I need? If you have empathy, I can work with you. Now, if you got to block up and you don't think I can learn, then that's a whole nother story. But, I talked in the book about how to build cultural awareness and how to understand the culture of Black and brown males, how to teach it, the core beliefs and mindsets of a culturally responsive educator, and how to build strong relationships with students, because students buy for who they like. And if a student don't like you, then they're not going to buy into what you're selling. And if you call yourself a leader and you don't expect to be talked about, then you're not ready to lead, right? So if you call yourself a principal, a superintendent, a teacher, a counselor, you are a leader, and you got to lead by example. But, everybody with a title, we know is not a leader. So the book is just teaching administrators and educators, how can we become the educator our kids need? You can go to my website, robertjacksonmotivates.com, robertjacksonmotivates.com. I have all my books on my website, including Becoming the Educator They Need. We got some shirts, Educate, Activate, Motivate all students. So we got something for the AKs, the Alphas.
Not the Alphas. You ain't got enough for the Alphas, do you?
We got something for everybody, man. The Zetas, the SG Rows.
Yeah, you got it.
The Qs. We got the purple for the Qs. Got the crimson for the bras. So, I want to make sure that we are sending a strong message to our students that we're here and we're advocating for you. But I cannot help anybody until I help myself. You got to put the mask on yourself first. So we talk about self-care also, because secondary traumatic stress is real. And that's compassion fatigue and worrying about kids all the time. I don't need you worrying about me feeling sorry for me. I need you to teach me how to navigate through the school system. I don't need you feeling sorry for me because I didn't have a father at home, or I grew up poor. I need you to teach me how to run faster, to navigate through the school system.
Hey, let me tell you, the shirt you got on right now, all I can see is teach, hustle, inspire.
That's right.
That's all.
Yeah.
Hey, Doc, I'm going to leave it. Can I leave it right there, Robert?
Let's leave it right there. My boy, Time Woodry, I gotta represent my peoples, so I'm always, if it's, I try to wear things that mean something. And that teach, hustle, inspire means something to me. To educate, activate, motivate students to be great successes. That means something to me. No fear. My boy Kent Wade, shake the fear. We got to shake the fear, and we got to get out of our feelings. And the righteous one shall live by faith, right? So we can't live in fear and faith at the same time. We got to walk by faith.
Well, Rob, let me tell you, hey, I appreciate you being on Funky Politics, man. I got to get you back on this show, because I'm gonna get you on next time. I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you the mic and say, hey, preach, Doc. I'm gonna pass the plate. I do the plate passing. We're gonna raise the money because we're gonna build this building. We got to build a mansion.
Yes, man. Anytime you want to have me, I would love to come back on.
Appreciate you, Doc. Stay well, man. Hey, I'll be back with some closing thoughts right here on Funky Politics in just a second.
Bless you.
Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, one and all, to the little show that we like to call Black Nerd Power BNP if you're nasty. I'm your host, Mr. Richard Douglas Jones, and with me, the co-hosts of Black Nerd Power, Mr. Marcus Seabury.
What's up, my nerd?
Oh, nerd, please. And Ms. Kimber. What's happening, man?
Hi.
All right, first, here is the rage figure.
I love his helmet.
Talking about escapism and like, yo, I'm mad, but I'm tired. Like, is it okay that, like, if instead of going out to protest tonight, I want to sit and watch a movie? I'm just like, hell yeah, it's fine.
A quote unquote woke romance that features a character that's not being like objectified for her body, that does not necessarily mean that that book will not have sex in it.
And I think on that note, we're going to end the show.
Kadzukian. Download the Kadzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
You know, I get to do this for a living. I get to talk to interesting, thought-provoking people from around the world. And Brother Robert Jackson out of Indianapolis, let me tell you something. This brother is motivating. He's a motivator. He's an educator. But more than anything, he's a teacher. He's a teacher. And I think we have marginalized teachers for so many years, just like we have certified nursing assistants. Try not having access to your parent or your loved one at a care home, and you see how much you love that certified nursing assistant that calls you with an update. It's the same thing with a teacher. We've got to embrace our teachers. Right now, it's very difficult. COVID-19 is going to introduce a lot of things, not only to us as parents, but also to our support, which are our teachers in these classrooms. Let's support them. Let's help motivate our own students. Let's help educate our own kids, and let's help inspire them. So when I send them, whenever they finally go back to those district buildings, they know that they're going to love because they're leaving love, right? Hey, that's all I got for you here today on Funky Politics. I appreciate Robert Jackson stopping in and talk to us. We'll have a lot more to say in shows to come. I am DC, and I'll see you later.